And thank you for being here. I'm super excited.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I'm excited to chat.
Yes. So, can you start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So I will make it as short and sweet as I can for sure. I've been in this business 29 years. I started out as a hairstylist, moved into being a salon manager, and then moved into being a district manager and then a partner of in a corporation. And we moved to Florida and then opened up 5 salons within 1 year. So I have been on all facets of this business, even working with them, just learning how to manage. I had about 55 employees. Left Florida, moved back home, opened up my own salon. I was a commissioned salon because I'm originally from PA. So I had a commissioned salon. It was amazing, loved it, ran that for 11 years and really created an exit strategy for myself where I could position myself to sell the business because it was super profitable. Wasn't always like that, but it was super profitable and got into what I'm doing now, which is what I've been doing for the last 9.5 years, which is helping stylists and salon owners and beauty professionals truly understand how to grow their business, how to price their services, how to increase profit, and lead people first salons.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank
How do
you.
you feel like you became so passionate about becoming a coach and this?
I went broke.
Yeah,
That's where the passion came from. I've always been, I'm a very empathic person, and I've always been a very like want to help people, want to take care of people kind of person, just leading with compassion. And I just know that when I went broke, not I went broke twice, but I've had major issues the first 5 years of owning my salon. Um, I really didn't have anyone to turn to. I
yeah,
was very lonely because I'm like, who am I going to talk to about this? I had really great friends, but they weren't business owners, so it was really hard for them to relate. And
right,
so when I started to really think about the next move for my business, I was getting really tired of being behind the chair. My body was breaking down. I was having a lot of issues. And, I just really wanted to pour into the salon owners. That's how this business started, was really working to catering toward the salon owner because I wanted to be that person that they could turn to who really understood what it's like to run, manage, grow a business,
right.
feel lonely, when you're trying to grow and, having challenges in your business. And the financial side was just important to me because I don't ever, ever want anyone to feel what I felt when I was $90,000 in debt, almost closing my business and just broke. So that's
Yeah,
really where the passion comes from. But I've always had a true passion for just serving people. That's always been
yeah,
kind of in me.
yeah. That makes so much sense. I feel like a lot of people in this industry have that same want to help people. It's like the
Sure.
core characteristic in a lot of hairstylists and
Yeah.
business owners. So that's awesome. So I know a lot of what you coach is centered around pricing,
hmm
correct?
hmm
So what would you say to someone that is scared to raise their prices?
Well, first of all, it's a normal feeling. I think there always is a little hesitance when it comes to talking money to anybody. It's such a personal thing. But I think, and what I've learned in my own business is that if you don't raise your prices, and obviously there's many things that go into raising prices. The demand has to be there, obviously. But increasing prices is a way for you to keep your doors open, especially what's been going on in the last couple of years in our country, in our world, really. But things have increased so much. Cost of living has gone up, cost of, rent has gone up, cost of product has gone up, everything's increased. So we do have to be mindful that pricing is the driver of sales, profit, and schedule. So if you're not raising those prices, it means you're either going to work longer hours, you're going to have lower profitability, and your sales are not going to be where you want them to be. So
Right.
basically, you end up sacrificing and compromising yourself just to please your clients. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you got to keep your doors open. So I think it really is leaning into your value side, understanding how much value you offer and how can you offer more value. When you increase prices, it's like, how do we increase more value and continue to elevate? Because that's what clients are looking for. They're
Yeah.
looking for connection and they're looking for value in their salon experience.
I've heard a lot that if you don't have a demand or a wait list, you shouldn't raise your prices. But on the other hand, like what you said, there's with what's going on in the world, everything's so much more expensive. Do you think you need that demand first and a wait list before you raise your prices?
Well, I mean, demand is one of the key elements that we look for when we talk about raising prices. But if you haven't had a price increase in a year and a half, we've got to start looking at your business as a whole. And I teach people how to do this with my budget pricing calculators, where we
Mm.
look and see what's elevated, what has gone up, how it's hitting our bottom line, and then we can make an educated decision on how much we're going to raise our prices based on that. Now, if you don't have the demand, that doesn't mean you're never going to raise your prices, because you have to keep up with the demand of costs, or you're just going to keep circling
Yeah,
yourself and running basically in a circle, trying to pay your bills and trying to pay your rent and trying to live because you're like, oh, I don't have the demand yet. Every year you should be reassessing your prices. It doesn't mean you increase them every year, but you should be looking at them every single year to say, okay, is it time? Is it been a year and a half plus? Did I only increase my color services last time? Do I need to look at my haircut services? Do I need to look at all of my services in general? Where where am I profiting? What services am I profiting on? Where am I losing money? What services can I limit or remove? There are a lot of things that we're doing when we're looking at pricing. We're looking at menu, we're looking at services and what the demand is of those services too. It's not just raising prices. There's a lot that goes into it.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, what are some signs that someone might be undercharging? Are there signs, or is it kind of just use the calculator and go based on I haven't raised my prices in over a year?
There are a
Are
lot
there
of
other? Yeah,
Yeah, there are a lot of signs if you're under. I actually share this a lot on my Instagram, like 3 signs you're undercharging, right? If you're the number one thing, if you're working more than 40 hours a week just to pay the bills, you're undercharging. That's number one. If you're working more than over 40 hours a week, you shouldn't have to do that just to pay the bills.
yeah,
If your product cost is more than 15% of the price of the service, you're typically undercharging. Those are two key components that you're undercharging. And I think the other thing we have to look at too is what is my profit? Was my profit X and now it's this? That's a
yeah,
clear sign because our costs have gone up, but now my profit's going down. Well, what's the key component here? I
yeah,
haven't raised my prices.
yeah.
So those are the three areas that you really want to pay attention to. And I think we get so emotional about it, myself too. I used to be very emotional about raising
Hmm.
prices when I was a salon owner, but you know, it is, businesses are not making it because they're not raising their prices or they're not taking in all of the factors that go into pricing when they're pricing their services.
Right. And I feel like a lot of business owners, especially, or independent stylists, burn out pretty quickly.
Mhm.
Um, do you think that burnout is more about the workload or just how the business is set up in general?
Well, I think it could be a couple things. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a couple things that come from that burnout comes from. Number one, when you become disconnected from your why, you start to feel burned out. If you're just doing hair every day and you're grinding and there's no purpose, rhyme, or reason, there's no passion, there's no motivation, why am I showing up? We
mm,
start to feel burned out. That's number
yeah,
one. Number two, yes, the workload could be too much. But again, going back to pricing, if you're working 40 hours plus, you're going to get burned out. You shouldn't be working
yeah,
that much. It's just a lot for the human body. And plus, what we do and standing all day long and so much output and energy that we put into our clients, it becomes a lot. But there's also financial burnout. And that's one thing that people, kind of forget about because they feel like, well, I'm working so much and I'm so tired because I'm taking all these clients and I'm staying early, staying late and coming in early. Well, you're doing that typically because you're not charging enough or
right.
you're spending too much on the back end. So there is a thing as financial burnout, and it really is hitting our industry, and it's been hitting it hard for the last couple of years. It really is paying attention to service dollars, which derives from pricing, and making sure that our profit is on point, and making sure that we're not overspending and we're just not being haphazard with our spending. Are we saving money? Are we paying ourselves? If you're not making money in your business, you're going to become resentful.
Yeah.
If you're not paying yourself and you're not able to make a living, you're rightfully so, you're going to become resentful. But what are the shifts and the
Mhm.
changes that you're willing to make so that doesn't continue to happen? That's what's most important.
Yeah. And I think like all of those things you just mentioned have to override your fear of
Yeah.
losing clients.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing that I hear.
Hmm.
People are so afraid to lose their clientele from raising
Yep.
their prices.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like you said, if you're burnt out and struggling financially, I just feel like
Hmm.
it's not worth it. Um,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think here's what I want people to understand. You're not meant to keep every single client that sits in your chair.
yeah,
It's an unreasonable expectation.
yeah,
So if you raise your prices reasonably and you're continuing to offer value and clients leave you, it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay. You're going to make more money. And that if you lose a client or two, which honestly, I've never worked with someone or have known someone that has lost a half a book for rate having a price increase, a
yeah,
reasonable price increase. Now, sometimes people get nuts and they raise their prices by 50, 60, $100. That's a different story. I'm talking about a
yeah,
reasonable price increase. I'm more conservative in our increases, but you're not meant to keep all these people. So I think this like
yeah,
whole like, oh my God, if I lose Judy and Karen, my life is going to fall apart. No, maybe you need to lose Judy and Karen.
yeah,
Maybe they need to go somewhere else so you can
yeah,
open up your doors to start taking in more balayage clients or more textured clients or whatever that is that fills you.
yeah. What do you think a reasonable price increase is
Well, reasonable
generally?
price increases will be determined by there's really no way for me to say other than when I put all of your information into the calculators, that's going to, because we do budgeting first, that's going to spit out what your price increase would be.
Gotcha.
Typically, it's going to be anywhere between 10% and 15%. I rarely have done 20% increases, and it really was only with people who haven't had price increases in 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah,
So 10% to 15% typically is where we would live, but also $10 to $15. That's also kind of where we would live too for color services. Haircuts anywhere between $5 and $10. And these aren't set in stone. I'm just kind of giving you general averages. But
yeah,
when we start to, there for a while after COVID, there was advice being given that you should be raising your prices 25, 30%. Well, that didn't land well because then
yeah,
prices got so inflated, people weren't keeping up with the value add. They were just doing the same type of service. And
yeah.
then clients started to get pissed and they started to boycott everybody on TikTok 2 years ago.
Hmm.
So, we have to make sure that the value matches the price and the client experience matches the price, or people will go elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? It's like
Mhm.
not just you have to give value.
Right.
I know a lot of the other things you talk about are about hiring as well and
Hmm.
retention. Um, so why do you think a lot of salon owners struggle with keeping their staff or just hiring in general?
Well, two different components, right? So let's talk about the hiring side of it. The number one thing I see wrong with salon owners and the way that they're hiring too fast.
Hmm.
So I have a whole 30-day hiring and interview process. 30 days. There's a
Yeah,
lot that goes into that. And people are like, 30 days? I don't have time for that shit. And I'm like, well, do you have time to let someone go after you just
right.
dumped a lot of time, money, and energy in 6 months they're leaving?
Yeah,
So I think when it comes to the hiring process, we've got to slow it down. We've got to
yeah.
make sure that there's a 4 or 5 part system, and I have it in my book that lays the whole thing out. And when you take your time and you hire people slowly to make sure that they align with your brand values, mission, and vision, you get the right people in, they feel more comfortable. We invite them in, we're already including them right away, we're starting to train them right away, and we're onboarding them properly. That's another thing that people miss.
Hmm.
Then people are happy, and then the retention is better. When it
Right.
comes to retention has to do with growth, how they're growing, how they're getting compensated, how they're making more money, and how you lead and what your culture's like. That's why
Right.
people are staying. So leadership has to be strong, honest, and consistent. The culture has to be people first. I'm a
Yeah.
very big proponent on people first leadership, meaning that we put the wants and the needs of the people. We're there to serve not only clients, but serve the team, which means coaching is involved, which means listening to their own goals and dreams. It's not about your business, it's about them. It doesn't mean they get to run amok and do whatever they want to do and create their own schedule and just, no, there's still a standard there, but you're leaning into them more and you're listening to them and what they want out of this business, but what they also want personally. People will
Right.
stay when they feel valued, seen, and heard and appreciated. And if they're not, they're leaving. If they're not
Yeah.
growing, they're not staying. So those are the two components when we hiring slow down and retention, we've got to make sure that we're leaning into our people and putting them first.
Yeah. And going back to the culture part,
Mhm.
what is something that you would tell someone to look for to make sure that someone's going to fit into your salon culture? Like, what do you look for in
Like
someone
as
that
a
you're
like
potentially
someone who
hiring?
oh, so what am if I'm an owner and I'm interviewing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what I'm looking for? Well, there's a whole list of questions that we would ask people
Yeah.
to make sure that they're aligned. And I think one thing that you want to do is you want to let your stylist talk in the interview. It's not about
Yeah.
you, it's about allowing them to speak and hearing from them. It's asking the right questions. It's looking at body language. It's making sure that they're connected and they're being authentic. You can tell when someone's putting on a show in an
Yeah.
interview, and it's also trusting yourself. I
Right.
think also making sure that you stay aligned with your own values and mission as an owner and not be swayed away from that because you see you need someone.
Yeah.
Hiring, the worst time to hire is when you need someone because everybody looks great.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're always looking for people and you're hiring slow. So it's just a vibe, it's a feeling, it's paying attention to their energy and their language and how they're showing up in that interview
Yeah.
and listening to your gut. It will never steer you wrong.
Yeah. That's so true. How would someone know that they're ready to expand or grow their team?
So this is a really good question. And I think sometimes people expand a little bit prematurely.
Yeah.
Number one, profit margin needs to be there. Number two, demand in the business needs to be there. Number three, finances have to be in place to expand and grow this business. Now, when you're thinking about hiring on a new team member, typically when you start to see that the salon is 70% booked-ish, that's when we start looking. Because if you're turning people away, if you have a wait list, if there's no availability, you're not growing your business. So
Right.
when we hit that 70% mark, then it's time to really start to look and see where we can place people and where we really need them to fill in those gaps, and hiring that right person on is important.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's been a big boom as well with stylists becoming independent or
Mhm.
getting a salon suite or
Yep.
renting a chair. What would you say to someone that's thinking about doing that? But how do they know if they're ready?
I work with a lot of independents, and I think what I have found is that independents sometimes they go solo because they're running from something.
Okay.
They're running from a salon that may be toxic. They're running from a person in the salon. And I would say, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you're doing it for you and you feel ready. Make sure you have your
Mhm.
finances in place and you understand what your rent percentage is, that you
Right.
have working capital, that you have 3 to 6 months of business expenses in the bank, that you
Yeah.
feel solid in your book, that you have a solid book of clients, that you
Yeah.
understand what it takes to run a business and understand that it's going to be time consuming to run this business and market yourself and understand how you have systems in place. And, it's really being sure on all facets. It's
Yeah.
not doing it because I'm so sick and tired of where I am.
Right.
So I think a lot of things need to be in place, and you have to feel confident in running a business. Not that you need to know all the things, because we're still learning. I'm still learning still every day too.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that you are running a business and taxes are no longer going to be taken out of your check. So how are you accommodating for that? You
Right.
know, that you have a CPA that's backing you.
Taxes.
Yes, taxes, that you have a bookkeeper that's keeping things in line, and that you really feel prepared to be a business owner.
Yeah. It's a lot more than a lot of people realize.
For
And you're
sure.
not used to having to do the taxes yourself, the marketing yourself,
Mhm.
everything.
Yep.
Um, Definitely have to be prepared.
Yep.
So I
Absolutely.
think we are running out of time, but I know you have a book out. So where can everyone find out a little bit more about your book? Because I know you dive deeper into a lot of this in your book.
I do. Yes, thank you. So it took me a year to write this damn book. It was quite a process, and I
Yeah.
just released it back in January, and it's called Profit is Personal. And it really is all about your brand, people first culture, leadership, finances, you. That's the first chapter. And this whole hiring system and process that I was talking about. And I think that, it really, the whole premise of the book is that profit is infused in every component of your business. It's not just financial. It's how you lead, it's how you set up your culture, it's how your systems are in place. That's what drives profit. So you can
Right.
find it on Amazon, which honestly, you could just hop on my website, ninatulio.com, and check it out and grab it. The link is there for Amazon. But it's a nice, quick read. It's a workbook, so you can actually write in it and do your exercises in there. It's really interactive. So yeah. So if you want to check it out,
It's
go ahead and do
amazing.
that. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
Of course.
This
Thank you
has
so
been
much for having
great.
me. I
Of
appreciate it. Thank
course.
you.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. I think this will be very helpful for a lot of people.
Good, good. Awesome.